Welcome to the Horror Night. Now, we are going to tell another chilling horror story. Tonight, we delve into the shadowy depths of World War I. Are you ready to get scared? Let's begin. The first story is about the trench whispers in the muddy trenches of the Western Front. In the muddy trenches of the Western Front, where the echoes of war were drowned by the cries of the fallen, there existed whispers that chilled the bones of even the bravest soldiers. They called it the trench whispers, a ghostly phenomenon no man could explain. As the story goes, a young soldier named Private Jameson, wearied by battle, found himself alone in a forsaken stretch of the trench after a brutal offensive. The night was unusually silent, the usual cacophony of artillery fire had ceased, and in its place, a faint whispering began to emerge from the mud-caked walls. At first, Jameson thought the whispers were his mind playing tricks, the stress of combat pushing him to the brink. But as the nights progressed, the whispers grew louder, clearer, and more insistent. They spoke of secrets buried deep beneath the trenches, of a hidden enemy more terrifying than any human adversary. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Jameson began to dig. Each shovel of mud brought him closer to the truth, and the whispers turned into voices, guiding his hands. What he uncovered was beyond comprehension, a subterranean chamber of ancient origin, filled with relics that hummed with an otherworldly energy. The voices belonged to the spirits of soldiers from long-forgotten wars, bound to the chamber, seeking release from their eternal vigil. They entrusted Jameson with their stories, their hopes, and their warnings. But with knowledge came a price. The chamber was a nexus for the restless dead, and its discovery had consequences. As Jameson emerged from the trench, the world around him had changed. The war had moved on, but he remained, a guardian of the whispers, forever part of the Western Front's haunted legacy. And to this day, those who listened closely in the stillness of the night might hear the trench whispers, sharing tales of the past and foretelling the fates of those who wander too close to the forgotten depths of history. And so, the legend of the trench whispers continues, a chilling reminder of the unseen horrors that lurk beneath the surface of our world. The second story is about the Red Baron's last flight, the infamous Red Baron. In the twilight of World War I, the skies were haunted by the specter of the Red Baron, the most feared and respected pilot of his time. His crimson Fokker triplane was a harbinger of death, a ghostly presence that struck terror in the hearts of his enemies. But even legends must meet their end, and the tale of the Red Baron's last flight is one shrouded in mystery and horror. The night before his final sortie, it is said that the Red Baron, Manfred von Richthofen, had a chilling premonition. In his dreams he saw himself flying through a storm of blood, with the faces of his fallen foes glaring at him from the clouds. He awoke in a cold sweat, but as dawn broke, he dismissed the nightmare and took to the skies. As he soared above the war-torn French countryside, a thick fog rolled in, unusual for the time of day. The Red Baron's keen eyes scanned the horizon, but there was no sign of the enemy. Suddenly, a shadow loomed out of the mist, a lone biplane, its gun silent, its pilot's face obscured by a skull mask. The Red Baron engaged the ghostly adversary, but his bullets passed through the apparition as if it were made of air. The phantom pilot motioned for him to follow, leading him deeper into the fog. The world below disappeared, and all that remained was the eerie silence of the void. Hours passed, or perhaps it was minutes. Time seemed to lose all meaning. Eventually, the fog lifted, revealing a landscape that was both familiar and utterly alien. The ground was littered with the wreckage of planes from all nations, their pilots wandering aimlessly, their eyes hollow with despair. The Red Baron realized then that he had entered a limbo for lost airmen, a purgatory where the souls of pilots were doomed to roam forever. The phantom pilot revealed himself to be the first victim of the Red Baron, cursed to wander the skies until he could lead his vanquisher to share his fate. Desperate to escape, the Red Baron dove his plane towards the earth, but as he did, the ghostly pilots reached out and pulled him from the cockpit. His plane crashed into the fields below, but his body was never found. To this day, some say that when the fog descends upon the old battlefields, you can hear the roar of the Red Baron's triplane, forever trapped in his last flight, a ghostly echo of the war that claimed so many lives. This story is a work of fiction, inspired by the legendary figure of the Red Baron and the rich folklore surrounding ghostly pilots and haunted skies. It's a reminder of the thin veil between life and death, especially during the tumultuous times of war. The third story is about the lost battalion of Cambrai during the Battle of Cambrai. In the chilling autumn of 1917, the Battle of Cambrai raged, marking a pivotal moment in World War I with the first large-scale use of tanks. But amidst the historical accounts of strategy and conquest, a lesser-known tale whispers through the trenches of time, the story of the lost battalion of Cambrai. In the early hours before dawn, under a crescent moon, the 9th Battalion received orders to advance through no man's land. Their objective was a strategic German stronghold on the outskirts of Cambrai. The men, bolstered by the rumbling support of tanks, felt an unfamiliar surge of hope. This new war machine could be the key to breaking the stalemate that had claimed so many of their brethren. As they moved forward, the ground shook with the fury of artillery. The tanks, like steel beasts from a future age, plowed through barbed wire and trenches. But as the battalion neared their goal, a dense fog descended, swallowing the landscape in a ghostly shroud. Communication lines snapped. The tanks, those supposed harbingers of victory, became tombs for their crews as enemy fire found its mark. The battalion, now isolated, pressed on, unaware that they had veered off course. They stumbled upon a village, untouched by war and eerily silent. No birds sang, no dogs barked, only the sound of their own labored breaths filled the air. The men took refuge in the abandoned houses, waiting for the fog to lift. But the fog did not lift. Days passed, and no orders came. The men began to see figures in the mist, shapes of soldiers from battles long past, their uniforms from a bygone era. Whispers filled the night, speaking of a curse upon the land, a place where lost souls gathered, trapped in eternal warfare. One by one, the men of the 9th Battalion vanished. Some wandered into the fog, never to return. Others were found lifeless, their faces frozen in terror. The few who remained spoke of shadows that moved, of a darkness that seemed alive. When the fog finally cleared, the battalion was gone. The village stood silent once more, a spectral monument to the lost battalion of Cambrai. They say the fog still returns, and with it, the whispers of the damned, a reminder of the horrors of war and the souls it claims. This tale, woven from the threads of history and the fabric of nightmare, serves as a chilling reminder of the Battle of Cambrai's haunting legacy. These are just one of the many horror stories. There are many more out there, waiting to be discovered and told. Do you have any horror stories of your own? Share them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more spooky content. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious. Bye.